This guy is the youngest artist to ever have all 7 albums reach the top of the Billboard 200 charts by the age of 25. He's somebody that has been worldwide since about 2009, 2010, and he started off in this business really young. He's somebody that we have seen the highs, and we have definitely seen just some of the lows that this person has experienced. To me, he is somebody that I think has been misunderstood, misused, and definitely abused in the music industry, and somebody that has definitely struggled with their mental health. And it's somebody that I want to talk about today because I feel like there's somewhat of a resurgence that has kind of happened, and not necessarily even in the best way, but I think it's an important conversation that we should probably have. Today we are talking about all things Justin Bieber. Let's dive on in. I am so sorry that there was no new video last week. I have been really struggling with this pollen. I don't know if any of you guys out there, especially in Florida, have been struggling with the pollen lately, but I have been coughing and just not feeling 100%. So last week there was no new video, but I am so excited about today's video because this is something that I've been wanting to do for a little bit now. Justin Bieber is somebody that I feel like I have always seen the talent and understood the talent, but I've also been saddened by the mistreatment, the misunderstanding, the lack of what seems like true friendships that maybe he's had to experience, and somebody that has been open about their mental and emotional health journey. As somebody who loves all things mental health, therapy, pop culture, reality TV, Justin Bieber is always somebody that has caught my attention. When I did my video on Britney Spears last year in October when her memoir came out, one of the people that came to mind in regards to a similar journey was Justin Bieber. Now, I say similar in the sense of he started off really young, he got thrusted into the limelight very young, and he became very big very quick. And it seemed like people that came into his life were people who used and abused him, whether it was mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually. And then when they got what they needed, they discarded him, or Justin came to a place of recognizing the unhealthy and toxic people. And then he woke up and realized there weren't many people in his life that he could trust. And he talks about his struggle with depression, and obviously, again, there were seasons of his life where it seemed like unruly behavior and he's losing it, he's lost his mind, he's on drugs, all this stuff. And the conversation never really happened, or I never at least saw the conversation happening about, is anybody taking care of his mental and emotional health? Is anybody in his life that is truly mentoring him and loving him in a healthy way? Now I think there are some people, but at that time I don't think it was maybe as evident as I would have hoped to have seen. And so today I want to talk from that side of things. I want to talk about Justin Bieber from a mental and emotional health side of things, because I think there's a lot that we can gain and we can learn from Justin Bieber, and maybe we can even learn to have more compassion or empathy for the people that we assume may have everything, but may be really struggling more than we even know. Okay, so Justin Drew Bieber, that's so cute, Justin Drew Bieber. He was born in Ontario, Canada, and he was born March 1st, 1994, so he just turned 30, which in my mind, he's still like the kid with the swoopy hair going like this. He was born to Jeremy Bieber, and Patty was his mom's name, but I cannot pronounce her last name, so we're just gonna skip that. But Jeremy and Patty were actually never married. They were together for a little bit, but then they ended up not being together all of Justin Bieber's growing up life. It seems that Justin and his mom were super close. Something to note about Jeremy and his mom Patty is that it was said that they were both about 18 years old when they had Justin Bieber. Now, when most teenagers become pregnant or they have a baby or they start a family, most of the time it's not going to work in regards to being married and together for a long time. Teenagers are still being developed mentally, emotionally, maturity, all that stuff. And so to throw into the mix a baby that they're not having to take care of, it is pretty common for teenage parents to not typically work out. It is said that Patty and Justin Bieber were seemingly pretty close almost all through growing up. It seems like he was with her probably most of the time. I I had read that Jeremy and Justin were also decently close as well, but I don't know if they were as close when they were young. Anyway, Justin grew up in Canada, and there was this talent show that he ended up performing in. And one of the things that his mom loved to do is record him when he would sing and do these talent shows. And one of the talent shows, I think he ended up getting about second place. Mom recorded it, put it on YouTube, and all of a sudden, this little kid from Canada was blowing up because he was doing amazing covers of Stevie Wonder and other big pop icons, and he was actually pretty good. Eventually, the one and only Usher ends up seeing him, and Justin Bieber gets a chance meeting with Usher, and eventually Justin gets signed under Usher's label and recording people. So before he even came out with his debut album, he actually had 4 singles that would go to be in the top 40, which is again almost unheard of. He literally, as soon as he got signed and as soon as his songs started coming out, he just rose to fame that very few artists ever experienced, to the capacity that he experienced it at the age that he experienced it at. Again, this is like 2009, so he is super young, super new to all of this. So in 2010, his first album comes out, My World, and it goes platinum. The following year, he does My World 2.0. Again, it goes platinum and introduces 10 new songs. Then in 2011, he comes out with one of my favorite albums, is the Never Say Never album. And again, one of the best Christmas albums, Under the Mistletoe. To me, Little Drummer Boy, one of my favorite Christmas songs, and I will play that album as a grown adult to this day and still say it's one of the best Christmas albums ever done. Then he had another album that came out in 2012, which was titled Believe. Then in 2013, there's another album, which I'll be honest, I don't remember this album as much, but it was the album titled Journals. But then in 2015, we of course get the iconic album, the Purpose album, and it's one of those albums that people are like, oh, Justin Bieber is back. There was maybe like a couple years of, is he kind of fading out? What's going on? But then he produces yet another banger in the Purpose album. And then the last album I believe that he has recorded, from what I know, is his 2020 album, which was titled Changes. Now that's a very brief history of him becoming the musical talented star that we see today. I remember he came out with like a documentary kind of video or kind of movie, and I think it was called like My World, and it was people following him doing the My World tour, and the amount of attention, the amount of press, the amount of love that was given towards him, you would have thought it was the 1960s and he was the Beatles. He was swarmed with love and affection and obsession when it came to his fans. His fans are commonly known as the Believers, which I am a believer. However, I'm not a believer that is obsessed. But there were believers who were literally all about Justin and anything that he did and anything that he would eat or do and any way that he would dress. This kid was seemingly unstoppable. And then in 2010 or 2011, that's when another iconic person comes into his life, and he goes into a whirlwind of a romance. And that, of course, is with Selena Gomez. Now, when Justin and Selena first started dating, officially in 2011, the fans of Justin Bieber were not happy. So much so, they were literally reaching out to Selena Gomez, whether it was via YouTube or her Twitter or whatever the case may be. And they were literally threatening her of like, don't take my man. How dare you take my man? I'm like, first of all, he's not your man. Second of all, that's crazy. But anyway, that's how intense his fandom was. And I think there are still people who are like that when it comes to Justin Bieber. But anyway, here's this, literally, he would probably be in middle school or maybe high school trying to figure out dating. And he's doing it in a way that is so global and so well known. And it's not just his mom and dad's eyes on them. Like, you know, you think about your middle school crush or you think about your high school sweetheart where it's like, yeah, there you have friends who are, you know, have their say about your all's relationship. But at the end of the day, it's you two. Well, imagine being Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez. Not only that, every move that you do, every outing that you take, there are millions of people watching you. There are thousands of people who are taking your photos and putting them in papers and press to get money and to get attention. And so anything and everything that you do, there's absolutely no privacy. And not only is there no privacy, but there are a million voices telling you what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what you're doing wrong, how you're doing it wrong, why you should do this, why you shouldn't do this. And to be that young and to be that overwhelmed with different voices, opinions, thoughts, I just couldn't imagine the turmoil that he went through, but also that they went through. Dating in general is just hard. Dating in general, especially at that age, you're just trying to figure out, do you all even like each other? But to do it in such a public way, which again, they didn't necessarily have the choice to do it any other way, but to do it that way and to get that kind of attention, my heart, I just remember reading it back in the day, being like, man, to have that kind of attention and to have those kind of eyes and judgment on you every day at that age, I couldn't handle it. My heart would break. And so that really to me is where I started understanding that, oh, Justin Bieber is not just some like singer. Justin Bieber is a product to some people. Justin Bieber is somebody that people see as a cash cow and not as a human. Selena and Justin had dated like consistently, I think until about 2012, but then they were off. And then they were kind of off and on, and I'm not going to go into all the details because I don't know all who he dated. Again, it was always are they, aren't they when it came to Justin and Selena. Eventually, people loved the idea of Jelena. But in 2017, it seems that Justin and Selena are kind of back together. They're seen hanging out and doing things together, so people assume that they're together. And I believe that's assumed until about the beginning of 2018, and we'll get to Haley and Justin in a minute. Now, one of the big things that I want to talk about in regards to Justin Bieber is the years between like 2014 to 2016. These were years where it seemed like he was getting himself into a lot of trouble publicly. Meaning there was a lot of like paparazzi and a lot of stories coming out about him, how he is this bad kid, he's a rebel, he's a spoiled brat, he has all this money and he's just blowing it away, all that stuff. And one of the things that I always found so interesting, and I remember even when Britney Spears was going through things, my mind went to, well, if she was like a typical, teenager, nobody would blink twice because teenagers do these kind of things. That's how I felt about some of the Justin Bieber things. Now, with that being said, I do think he was doing some dangerous, unhealthy behavior, but part of me thinks that was happening because there was an inability to really manage, process, express his emotions in probably a healthy way. Most artists, not every artist, but I would say most artists are deep feelers. That's what makes them great artists, right? You want somebody who's able to feel what they're singing so then you can feel what they're singing. With that being said, though, sometimes artists have a hard time regulating and processing their emotions. So basically, let's say if somebody's angry, somebody who's a deep feeler or struggles with regulating their feelings, they're going to feel rage. Or if they're, somebody's sad, somebody who has a strong or hard time processing and regulating their emotions, they will identify as being depressed and they will feel that depression for days. And I think that's where Justin Bieber was in those years. I still think he's a deep feeler, which we'll get into in a minute in regards to his mental health struggles. But in those years, I think he was growing up quick. He did have a lot of money at his disposal, and I don't think he had the healthiest people in his life, and he struggled in regulating and understanding emotion. With regulating and understanding emotion, as an adult, that's hard. As a teenager, it almost seems impossible, especially when you don't have healthy people in your life to help walk you through that. And it seemed like he had people in his life who wanted to party with him, who wanted to have fun with him, but it didn't seem like he had people in his life who wanted to love him and to really encourage him to be the best and healthiest person that he could be. Not to be perfect. There's a difference between being good and healthy versus being perfect. And I don't think anybody, you can't be perfect, but I don't think he had anybody in his corner saying, hey, this isn't you, or this isn't healthy, or hey, let's figure out how to deal with this anger. Let's figure out how to deal with this pressure. Let's figure out how to step back. I am making the assumption that in those years between, again, I think it was like 2014, maybe a little 2013, but 2014, 2016, I just vividly remember these stories coming out. I always want to clarify, you can have all the money in the world and you can still be struggling mentally and emotionally. You can have all the money in the world and you can be the loneliest you have ever been. You can have all the money in the world and that doesn't mean anything when it comes to your mental and emotional health. Does it give you maybe more ability to get resources? Yes. But does it automatically provide resources and understanding and knowledge of what those resources are? No. Okay, now speaking of people being in his life and who wasn't in his life, something I did want to touch on in regards to Justin Bieber and his crew of people is the spiritual aspect of things, because as a believer myself, not a believer, but as a believer, somebody who loves Jesus and is a Christian, I do believe that your faith plays a big part into your mental and emotional health. And something that he openly had shared with us publicly was the fact that at some point in between those years, he had started seeking, I think, spiritual mentorship and guidance from pretty prominent people within the Christian faith. But when he was about 15 years old, he had met a guy named Judah Smith, and Judah Smith and his wife Chelsea Smith, they are the pastors of a church called Church Home. And from what I know, Justin Bieber's mom is a faith-based person and had watched a lot of his stuff online. And so they had met kind of through his mom. And through Judah Smith, that's when he got connected to Carl Lentz, who again we all know as a former Hillsong pastor. But strictly sticking to the journey with Justin Bieber, Carl and Justin start to become friends, and I think it's more of a mentorship relationship. Outside looking in, obviously don't know the details, but for a few years it seems like they're pretty close. I believe that Justin Bieber, even at times in different seasons of his life, lived with the Lentz family. And at that time it seemed like, okay, maybe there are people in his life who are going to love him, but not only that, but be people of faith who are going to surround him in prayer and wisdom and guidance and just genuine love that doesn't require anything back. And again, I don't know what happened in regards to their dynamic and relationship. I do know though, in about 2008, 2019, they didn't seem to be close anymore. I don't think that he was even at the wedding. So I don't know what happened, but it was kind of sad because once the whole Hillsong thing happened, it kept being referred to as Justin Bieber's church. And it's like, well, he hasn't been to that church in years, even prior to that. But more importantly, he is more associated with Church Home with Judah Smith than he was Carl Lentz. But because they had been seen out together, it just kind of made me think, man, I hope that he wasn't used again for somebody else in the faith. With that being said, though, I do think Justin Bieber, from what I see and what I believe outside looking in, I believe that he is curious about his faith. I do believe that he is curious about Christianity and Jesus, and he's pursuing something there. And I think that, you know, again, whether you are a believer or not, that's totally okay. But I think for him, that was a point of peace. I think that's a point of, okay, I feel chaos all around me, but the one place I feel peace is in a church. The one place I feel peace is in Jesus. The one place that I feel peace is in my faith. And so I think at the end of like 2017, 18, it seemed like he was getting more serious about his faith and his faith journey. And I, again, as somebody who is a believer, who is very strong in her faith, my faith plays a huge part in my mental and emotional health. No matter religion or faith, science has proven that any kind of spirituality can be a huge impact, either negatively or positively, in our mental and emotional health. Our mental, emotional, physical, spiritual health are all interconnected, and when one is out of alignment, we can feel completely out of alignment. And so I think that really did help ground Justin Bieber and in his journey. Now again, was he still human and probably still made mistakes and still makes mistakes? Of course, he's human. But I do think that's an important piece to lay out, is that he did seem to find faith. He even got baptized, I think, in NBA players pool years ago. But I do think his faith is a very important piece in making sure that we talk about Justin Bieber and his mental and emotional health journey. Now, in 2018, going back to the dating scene, Jelena is seemingly no more, because all of a sudden, it seems like, at least to me, all of a sudden, it's Hailey Bieber. Not only is it Hailey Bieber, but now they're engaged. By July of 2018, they're engaged. And I'm like, wait, where did she come from? Like, how did this happen? It's, from what I know and from what I've read, it was not the first time that they had actually dated. So Justin and Hailey had dated, I believe, when Justin and Selena were kind of on and off in like maybe 2016. There was a brief stint there. And people always joke with the whole Justin and Hailey thing, because Hailey met Justin as a fan. So just a little bit of background. Hailey Bieber is the daughter of Stephen Baldwin, and Stephen Baldwin is the brother of Alec Baldwin and some other Baldwin. But the Baldwin brothers are kind of well known, I guess. But from what I know, that's how Hailey and Justin met, is through her dad. And so anyway, 2016, I guess they had dated, but then they had split. He went back to Selena. Then they had officially split, and now he's engaged to Hailey. Now, if you all thought Selena got hate, Hailey, it's been on another level. And again, outside looking in, who knows much about their dynamics? But with that being said, it looks like in November of 2018, they were officially married. But it wasn't until the following year when they had that beautiful, iconic wedding. I mean, at that wedding, it was actually Judah Smith that had married him. And that goes back to Judah Smith and Chelsea Smith from Church Home. And that is the church that they still both attend. There's just paparazzi pics of them attending that church. And that's, again, part of the reason I wanted to have this conversation, is because, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, there's kind of been a resurgence of Justin Bieber. Now, in the beginning of this year, I thought it was good, because I'm like, okay, he's performing at the NHL, like, All-Star Weekend, and he just looks happy and healthy. This is somebody that has not performed much, hasn't come out with a new album in a while, and has just really been through it. A couple years ago, Justin Bieber did a really good, if you have not watched it yet, I highly recommend, a really good, raw, honest documentary, I think on YouTube, where it's a couple like episodes, and it's him and Hailey, and it really just shows the behind the scenes of how much of his physical and mental struggles are literally almost eating him alive in certain seasons of his life. In 2019, it was confirmed, I think that he had confirmed it, that he does struggle with depression, which again is really common, especially among artists. And the other thing that was confirmed, I believe, by him in 2020 was his struggle with Lyme's disease. Now, Lyme's disease is a very serious chronic disease that can definitely impact your mental and emotional health. And so in this YouTube docu-series kind of thing, he shows the behind the scenes. Not only that, but you see like Hailey Bieber really being a safe support system for him, and somebody that, you know, seemingly journeyed with him through, I would say, some of the lowest moments that he's experienced and that he was experiencing with us, you know, publicly. I totally believe that behind the scenes there was so much more happening. But I appreciate that docuseries because it was a glimpse into, oh, he really does struggle mentally and emotionally, but it's not a place of shame that he's sharing from. And I think that is so important because, again, if we go back to like the years between like 2013, 2015, 16, there's a lot of behavior that we can judge. There's a lot of things that come out in the, you know, paparazzi in the press that we can judge. But I think it's important to, yes, call out unhealthy behavior, but sometimes question the root of the unhealthy behavior. Sometimes question the reason behind the unhealthy behavior, because oftentimes there's a root of struggle mentally and emotionally that's not shown, especially at that level of fame, especially at that level of accomplishment. But with that being said, sometimes the behavior is an indicator of the mental and emotional struggle. And so with the YouTube docuseries, you see that mental and emotional struggle that I would say definitely perpetuated a lot of the behavior we probably saw in the earlier years. So again, catching up now, he's performing again, and I'm so excited because I genuinely love Justin Bieber. I love his voice, I love his talent, and he's so gifted. Musically he's gifted, vocally he's gifted. He's just a gifted kid. Again, in my head, I know he's 30, but he's still like 15 in my head. And so I am rooting for a comeback. I am rooting for a healthy comeback. And I thought we were there, and maybe we still are. But a couple weeks ago, this is where parents are so silly, kind of annoying. But I guess her dad had tweeted something like, pray for Haley and Justin. And the concept of that, you're like, okay, that's not that bad. Just pray for them. The reality is, though, you can't say that about the biggest star in the world, Justin Bieber. I don't care how long it's been since he's had an album. There will always be paparazzi pics and interest stories on this kid. And, his wife. And Haley, I would say Haley's pretty big now. Like, she's made a great name for herself. And I have nothing against her. I think she is stunning, wonderful. I hope they make it all that. But, her dad posts something like that. And so then people just go haywire. Like, why do they need our prayers? What's going on? People are nosy and people are mean. So that came out a couple weeks ago. And since then, there have been just so many rumors and things coming out. Like, is Justin cheating on Haley? Is Haley leaving? Is Haley cheating on Justin? Are they, pregnant? And here's just, I guess, a few of my closing thoughts on that whole situation. I think number one is if they are experiencing pregnancy struggles, IVF, infertility, anything in that regards, anything like that, I think it's important for people to know just because they're young and beautiful and rich does not mean that creating a family is easy. Does not mean that they want to create a family. Does not mean that their journey in creating a family is as smooth sailing as maybe we would assume it would be. And when we make assumptions like that of, oh, she miscarried, or oh, they're having a hard time, creating or starting a family, oh, she's pregnant, we have to be really careful, because to assume somebody's journey in starting a family is a really dangerous assumption to make, because again, we don't know their heart, we don't know their struggles, we don't know the trauma that's tied to it. As somebody who's experienced a traumatic miscarriage, I could not imagine people assuming, oh, she's pregnant, oh, she wants kids, or oh, she wants this, oh, she wants that, on a global level. Telling my friends was hard. I can't imagine having the world assume and create their own narratives and stories when something really could be going on in regards to creating a family and starting a family. And now there's this pressure of, oh, her dad asked for prayer, so there must be something wrong. I hope that we take a step back and we start to recognize that some of these stars, most of these stars, are people, and they're humans with human blood and human heart within them that deserve kindness and respect. Again, I understand that they are, they've made a name for themselves and they are public, but at the same time, they can perform in public and have a private life. And I think that was my first thought in regards to what's happening these past few weeks with them. My other thought is too, if they are going through some kind of infidelity or divorce or marriage troubles or whatever the case may be, I mean, they've been married for quite a few years, and marriage is hard. It isn't easy. And I can't imagine, again, being married at that kind of level. That's why a lot of celebrity marriages don't work. Not all of them, but that's why a lot of them don't work. It's hard work. And to be that young, to be in that kind of spotlight 24/7, one wrong step and everything is against you and your whole castle comes crumbling down. So there's not only the hardships of a normal marriage, but then you have that on top of the judgments of everybody else around you. And for his mental and emotional health, my hope is that we recognize again that we don't have the right to assume things that have not been told to us. We don't have the right to be in their most sacred and quiet spaces just because they are public people. I know that sounds odd and it sounds weird, but as somebody who's always loved all things celebrity, I've never loved it for the fact of like, oh, I want to meet them and I want to, I want to know everything that's going on. I've loved it in the sense of I love that they get to create and do what they want to do on such a global level. I also have loved that space because I'm like, man, their heart and their hearts and their heads are still normal human. Like it still operates like a normal human. And so I'm hoping that they have people in their life that protect it and honor it and steward it. And that's how I feel about Justin Bieber. And that's how I feel about him in this season right now is there's so much speculation happening. There's so much judgment that's happening. There's so much assumption that's happening. And I'm not saying that, none of this stuff will come out as to be true. I don't know what's true, but whatever is happening, it's impacting them no matter what. Whether it's good, bad, traumatic, heavy, hard, whatever the case may be, it's impacting them enough without the millions of voices of assumptions that are trying to pour into them as well. So I'm hoping that mentally and emotionally he does have people in his life that are going to continue to love him, support him. I'm hoping that, his family, which kind of going back to his family a little bit, I know that between his maybe rough seasons of life, him and his mom weren't necessarily close. Him and his dad seemed to have a unique bond. His dad ended up having a couple more kids. So Justin Bieber's not an only child. He does have a few siblings. And it seems like they're kind of they're pretty close. But even that, my heart is, I hope that his parents just continue to love him and support him, not because of, who he is now, but genuinely because he's their kid at the end of the day. I mean, you've seen it with Hailey Bieber's side of the family where it's like her dad makes a tweet knowing or repost something knowing it's going to get the attention because he knows the attention that his daughter and his son-in-law have. And so I think that was a violation of trust and just sad to see. So I'm hoping that his parents will not do that, or if they've done that in the past, that, they learn and grow from that, because it's just, if you can't trust your parents who, you should be able to trust no matter what, then it makes it hard to trust anybody else in your world and in your space. Those are my thoughts on Justin Bieber. I'm ready for him to have a good, healthy, clean comeback. But I also know, if he never makes music again, but he protects his mind and he protects his heart, I'm okay with that too, because at the end of the day, as great as his music is, Justin Bieber is more than music. Justin Bieber is more than the albums that he puts out and the songs that he sings. Justin Bieber is a human that deserves love and respect, and he deserves to live a life that is happy and peaceful and filled with joy, and that's mentally and emotionally just the healthiest and best thing that he could imagine. With that being said though, I am so thankful that you guys decided to tune in to yet another video. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Again, if you guys enjoy all things mental health, therapy, pop culture, reality TV, then this might be the channel for you. I would love for you to go ahead, take some time and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and turn on your notifications. That way you guys are notified when brand new videos are out and ready for you to enjoy. Be sure to tune in next week for a brand new video. Until next time, guys.